Hello folks, welcome to Lexi IAS. In today's video, we'll be discussing current affair topic presented to you by faculty Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we are going to be looking into today? How demand in temple distresses elephants and how does it fuel the wild captures? In this article, we'll be seeing as to why is it in use, what is the relevance of it to UPSC, that is the GS paper 3. We will also be looking into Malappuram. We will be discussing a mains question, and then we will also be discussing about your captive elephant rules of 2024, and we will be at the end discussing about your prelims facts from this particular topic. Alright, let's get started. Look at this. A disturbed male elephant ran amok and injured 24 people on Wednesday during a festival in Kerala. Now, we will be discussing about this particular topic in the course of the video. Alright? Look at this. First and foremost, if you take elephants, this has been part of our culture, of our religion. This has been part of our lives, which is closely interwoven. Our lives are interwoven around your elephants. When I tell that, okay, the concept of elephants, now when I tell it's woven with our lives, you can take as old as the depiction of elephants in your Ajanta and Ellora. Elephants have marked a big impact in our lives, especially in Indian culture and more specifically in the southern states. Now look at this, especially in Kerala. Just in 2024, they have lost 24 captive elephants, and in that 154 elephants were lost almost in a period of 6 years, and there's also a lot of elephant human conflict. A lot of lives are lost. It is disturbance to both elephants, it is disturbance to both people. Then why are elephants still being included in the public processions and religious activities? That forms the big question. For example, in this issue where 24 people were injured because of this elephant procession, Supreme Court had took a stand and invoked the principle of violatio non fit injuria, meaning the people who participated in these activities which involves elephant or elephant processions, they willingly took that risk. Yes or no? They have willingly come there knowing that elephant procession is there, elephants are there, so it is a possibility that some injury can happen. So it was a willingness. Understanding? So for people, yes, they have come willingly, the elephants are there, etc. Now in this incident itself, in the news that I said, yes, this particular elephant had injured. Now I said this particular elephant had injured people and all. So if you see why, one main reason was why did this elephant, which is almost 40-year-old male, why did it go on to injure or cause a ruckus was because it was under heavy stress. It was under very heavy stress. So this led for a further look, deep look into this particular topic, wherein your Kerala High Court suo motu took up this case. And when it inquired, it gave few suggestions, it gave few recommendations and told you're supposed to follow this. Let's see what those recommendations are. According to your Kerala High Court, the recommendation was the distance between two elephants. I don't know how to draw an elephant, so assume this. The distance between two elephants should be at least 3 meters. The distance between an elephant and a flaming torch, which will usually be carried in your religious activities, processions, etc., should be at least 8 meters. Right? the difference between that, the distance between the elephant to another human being also should be above 8 meters, so around 10 meters. Whereas the distance between an elephant to fireworks should be at least 100 meters. So this was your rules which was put up by your Kerala High Court. Now this particular concept affected one main thing, that is Thrissur Puram. This is a huge religious activity that is held in Kerala, where not just it is not considered just a Hindu activity, or but it is a more of a secular activity where many people from many different religions come to participate this. So what happened is this particular concept was brought in by Shaktanand Tampuran, who was a Maharaja of Kochi during the 18th century. It was held that the story goes that initially the temple ka processions were happening. We're telling the story back to 18th century, where all the local, like almost 24 temples will participate in this particular activity, where they'll all come and give offerings to this particular temple, Vadakumnathan temple. Okay, so in this temple they'll come to offer their offerings. But what happened for few temples, because of heavy rains they couldn't go, and post that time they few other members, when they came in, they were not allowed to go inside. So what happened, they went and complained to their Maharaja at that point of time. So what he held or decided was, okay, it's fine, from now on we'll hold a big procession wherein we will all go together and contribute to the temple, that is our offerings, in that particular order. So what happened from that day onwards, from 18th century onwards, it was like a huge procession wherein 100 elephants will stand in line and walk in the procession. So this will become difficult with this rule, where one elephant to another elephant difference should be 3 meters. So these people went ahead and challenged the decision of Kerala High Court in your Supreme Court. Supreme Court came to the ruling that yes, Kerala High Court should not do the rule of law making. It should not involve itself in law making, and then they state this rules of Kerala High Court, and they reiterated that they have to still follow Kerala Captive Elephants rules of 2012. But if you see, most of the times these rules are not followed. The male elephant that caused the ruckus was your Pakkath Sreekuttan. What happened to him was, one of the reasons why he went wild like that was because he was in heavy, severe stress. Understanding? Your animal organizations such as your Center for Research Animal Rights or Federation of Indian Animal Protection organizations have held that these animals are put under severe heavy stresses, then despite that they do not do anything to it, but they still continue to employ. We will take the example of this itself. Yes, this particular animal caused this ruckus. Yes, within just a short break or short period of time, he was again reinstated. He was again reinstated back to work. Now, if you look, this is not just one of the incidents, or this is the only incident. Like this, incidents have been happening, especially in your captive elements, especially in your captive elephants. These incidents have been happening. So a study was conducted by a Hyderabad-based Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, where they started identifying the stress factor based on this elephant dung will be there, right? They took this elephant dung and tried to see for the concentration of the stress hormone to see how the elephants or why they were reacting in that particular manner. The study they found out was the captive elephants, which are used for this head bobbing, waving, kneeling, taking people on rides, processions, all this was monotonous and extremely stressful environment for the animal, which when kept on made for continuous long period of time, the wounds, if at all they tend to have, the healing becomes very slow. The healing started slowing down. So much so they started having neuronal cell death. And also, if you start looking at the animals, the stresses that they were having, compare it to the counterparts. That is, the elephants which are there in zoo, national parks, these ones were having lesser stress compared to these elephants. They were not given any exercises. They also developed hyperglycemia. They also started developing glycemia, wherein their sugar levels were dropping. They were constantly hungry because they had to stand there for long hours, participate in strenuous activities, processions. All of this were taking the toll on the elephants, which is what makes them do this. And also, one main thing is huge amount of noise, light, constant exposure to firecrackers, physically hitting it, or all sort of torches put upon them, trying to discipline them. By this point of time, it just looks very sad to even proceed ahead by the amount of cruelties that is done for such a majestic animal. So what happened was, government, now we'll see what is government trying to do for this, or what has been the course of action in trying to protect elephants. First and foremost, if you see, there was a ban imposed on capturing wild animals for trade in 1977. Again in 1986, they said trading in captive elements was banned, but this was where the loophole that people started exploiting it. People who are in legal possession of these captive elephants can gift these elephants to the people who can take care of that particular elephants. Experts have claimed this is where your temples are getting large amount of your elephants under this possible rule. Meaning what? Anyone who is able to take care of the upkeep, yes, temples can do that. So this is how they are getting access to the elephants. And one more thing is, if you look about your captive elephants, or let's say domestic elephants, first and foremost, okay, first and foremost, wild elephants cannot be taken in. Okay, they cannot be taken and then been given like this. First of all, your wild elephants cannot be taken and captured or used for temple activities. But what people are doing was, there is something called as microchips. Okay, these microchips are implanted in your domestic elephants or captive elephants just to keep a track on them, to see how to see. Okay, your microchips are used to your microchips are implanted in your captive elephants. Now, what people are doing is, they are taking the microchips from the captive elephants and putting it in wild elephants to dress them up or to make it look like domestic elephants, which is again defeating the whole purpose of changes that was done into your Wildlife Act of 1972. And look at this, the bulk of, this is the saying of a forest officer, wherein he tells that the bulk of young captive elephants are passed as captive bred elephants. See, one thing about your elephants and breeding them in captivity is very, very difficult, because once a male elephant comes to heat, it becomes violently aggressive. So you can't actually captively, or you can't make it, that is, you can't, that is, breeding an elephant in captivity is extremely difficult. So what are people trying to call it? Take wild elephants, put the microchip in them, and then call them, they were captive bred elephants. So this way, they are just adding more and more stress to the elephants and increasing the human wildlife conflict. So it was observed there is clear misuse of this microchips. In 2022 August, it was held that DNA test was the only solution to detect captive bloodlines in elephants so as to prevent this misuse of microchips that is happening with respect to the elephants. Wherein they are claiming that these elephants were bred in captivity. But truth is they were captured from the wild. Look at a possible mains question. In India, where elephants, now let's look at a mains possible question. In India, where elephants are revered as sacred symbols of wisdom and strength, privately held captive elephants live a stark contradiction. In light of this statement, critically analyze the role of captive elephant transfer or transport rules 2024 in addressing the challenges of illegal trade and welfare of captive elephants. So the next topic we'll see is Captive Elephants Rules 2024. Understanding? The first part answer is what we discussed up until now. The second part answer is what we will discuss from now. Look at this. Captive Elephants Transfer or Transport Rules of 2024, according to which they started bringing in regulation of ownership transfer, which means any private owner has to showcase his ownership documents during your transfer, or to do what? So that to curb illegal trade. Right? They also facilitated monitoring through this microchips. For example, Rajasthan pe elephants which were illegally captured were being able to be identified with this method only. Interim transportation guidelines, for example, like in the Kerala example we're discussing, interstate travel, how is it supposed to happen while minimizing the stress to the elephant alongside reducing human animal conflict? It deals with that. One last thing that we are seeing is example of this Kerala. Okay. Second thing is addressing commercial exploitation. For example, if you are going to lease out animals, they will be seeing, yes, banning, there is a banning for commercial elements, etc. No. When you have to lease out, it deals with, for example, what activities it is used for. Understanding? But this doesn't deal with how much monetization, how the animal is treated. That particular variance is not discussed. So that is a little bit of next is digitization and oversight improvements. They are telling if we make it digital, that is, if we develop a national genetic database, which was decided, your Ministry of Environment decided in 2024 that we have to set up a national genetic database, because this will be able to bring in transparency. This will curb out your illegal. This will curb out your illegal trade. Understanding? So this is about your captive elephant rules of 2024. Let's see some facts for your prelims. Project Elephant was launched by the Indian government, especially. Now let's look into some prelims based facts. Project Elephant was launched in 1992. India claims to be the largest housing or home for 60% of your Asian elephants, wherein highest number of elephants are housed in Karnataka. Second highest is your Assam, and third highest is your Kerala. The amount of elephant population was 29,964 according to 2017 elephant census. If you see the protection category, IUCN and Red List pay it as an endangered. Wildlife Protection Act 1972 pay it puts in Schedule 1, which prohibits illegal trade, and in the sites it is in Appendix 1. Also, we have ex gratia payments concept, which means compensation given for people or families hurt because of the human animal conflict, here human elephant conflict. Okay. In any time recently, we do not see a scenario where they are going to completely stop the usage of elephants for these kind of activities. But what they can do is minimize the difficulties of human animal conflict and on each other. So we've reached the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it along with your friends. Thank you.